All right, this is a video for geometry on characteristics of parallelograms. And this video is going to be in a slightly different format. What I encourage you to do actually is to pause the video right now and see if you can make any discoveries on your own about some unique characteristics of parallelograms. And I'm giving you some hints. Is there anything you can notice around the opposite sides, around consecutive angles, opposite angles, or around diagonals? Okay, so I encourage you to draw a parallelogram on your own paper, pull out a protractor, pull out a ruler, and see what you can determine. A reminder about the definition of a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of opposite parallel sides. So what I have in red is part of the definition. So that's just given if we know we're working with a parallelogram. Let's look at opposite sides. Opposite sides are going to be congruent. So any parallelogram has a congruent pair of opposite sides. So I'll label that in green here. That doesn't necessarily mean that all four are equal, but we have two pair of probably differently congruent sides. Okay. So here I'm showing that as a pair of double tick mark and a pair of single tick mark sides. Consecutive angles. What do you think might be true around consecutive angles? So here I'm talking about, for example, these angles, so angles that share a side in common. They're supplementary. Okay, and the reason that is, I hope you can imagine, we have two parallel sides being intersected by a transversal. And so those two angles we're looking at are actually same side interior angles back in the world of parallel lines, and those will be supplementary angles. Let's look at opposite angles. Let's do that in red here. Opposite angles. I wonder if you can, actually let's not do it in red because I marked my givens in red, so I need another color here. I will use blue. So opposite angles. So what can we conclude or infer about these two blue angles? They're going to be congruent. Okay? Those are definitely congruent. And it looks like they're obtuse, and we will also have a second pair of congruent acute angles in this case. And lastly, let us work with diagonals. Whoops, I'll do diagonals in orange. Okay, and so what do you notice about these two diagonals? Does anything interesting going on? It doesn't look like they're perpendicular. What's actually true is that they bisect each other. Okay, so we don't know what angle they intersect at, but they cut each other in half. Okay, they're not congruent. We don't know if the diagonals themselves are congruent, but that intersection point is the midpoint of each diagonal. So they bisect each other. Okay, so those are four pretty useful theorems around parallelograms, and I would encourage you to keep those in a handy spot so you can refer back to them. And that's a good place to stop.